Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today to launch this new initiative of ICCA Middle East to enhance the region's knowledge and international perspective. I'm delighted to kick off this virtual educational segment with today's pivotal. The aim of this session is to spotlight regional initiatives. This is our first session, and we are pleased to welcome Melanie De Souza and Anita Mendiratta to enlighten us on Alula's potential with the focus on sustainable tourism and cultural preservation. Over to you, Anita.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And assalamu alaikum. I'm very excited to be with you here today. And thank you to Anju and to ICCA for giving us the opportunity to start off this important initiative. It's wonderful that you're doing this, Anju. And as the world opens up, it's important that we all stay connected and stay learning. So thank you very much. As Anju has said, my name is Anita. I'm Special Advisor to the Secretary General of the United Nations World Tourism Organization. And it is my honor and pleasure to be joined today by a very dearly loved, respected, and admired colleague, Melanie De Souza, who's the Executive Director of Marketing at the Royal Commission for Alula, the RCU. Our focus today is, as Anju said, really about sharing the intelligence and learning about Alula. But I just want to give you some context first about where is this incredible place. It has become one of the most inspiring, one of the most unique, one of the most inviting, and one of the most sought after destinations, not only in Saudi Arabia, but across the entire kingdom, the region, and the world itself. For context, it is located in ancient Arabic oasis, located in Medina province in northwestern Saudi Arabia. For centuries, it has been a crossroads of continents, a crossing point of caravans of incense trade routes, connecting Asia, Africa, Europe, and transiting spices, myrrh, cotton, ebony, silk, and stories, and commerce and cultures. Today, it's a crossroad for travelers from across the kingdom and the GCC and the world, a place that's welcoming the world as a priority sustainable tourism development at the heart of Saudi's Vision 2030. It is a destination that is not only growing at rapid speed, it is making sure that it's doing it, keeping culture, community, conservation, and commerce in perfect balance. So today we're going to be talking about unlocking Alula's potential, sustainable tourism, and cultural preservation. Now, I have to add that Alula is doing this not just as a theory, it's doing it in practice with the people of Alula, to the point where earlier this year, it was given the UNWTO award of being one of the world's best tourism villages in the world, which is remarkable. So I welcome Melanie to this program. And again, we thank ICCA very much for the chance to have a chat. Welcome, Melanie.
Thank you, Anita, and thank you, Anju. Anita, thank you for those very generous words. I hope you can hear me all right. I'm very conscious, Anita, of the amazing role you've played for RCU in the advisory board capacity. And truly, everything you say about Alula is so true. It's a privilege to be able to talk to you about it and our vision as we lead up to 2030.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing the time. And I have to smile when you said, "Can you hear me?" I thought, those are the words from COVID, the guaranteed conversation starter with everyone.
Melanie, I just hear it. I heard an echo, but I think that's gone now. So great.
Get me twice then. Melanie, question for you. You have come literally from around the world to reach Alula. Can you please share with us a little bit about your journey in tourism development, but from Australia all the way to Alula, please?
Sure. So I guess I started my career in hospitality, Anita, and that's a very good foundation, I think, for the larger tourism industry. But I had the privilege of marketing Melbourne in Australia for a long time, and spent a lot of those years with the export markets, really, I guess, building strategic foundations for the destination, working across brand and digital importantly as well. And really taking Melbourne and Victoria to the world, very, dare I say it, with a very passionate team of people with a lot of success, and seeing Melbourne emerge from what was perhaps Australia's second city to really being a city that was noted on a number of levels, not the least events, culinary. It's now got the accolade of being the coffee capital in the world, and its nature and wildlife is just a stunning proposition as well. So really honed my skills in the tourism sector per se in Australia. But I have to say, Alula is a destination that is captured my imagination, not the least of which the fact that not only have we got here a place that's been endowed with so much natural beauty in terms of stunning landscapes and what you see around you in terms of the physicality of Alula, but what I think is the RCU leadership's vision in terms of building out this destination in such a sustainable way, with the community at the heart of our endeavor, and really wanting to make sure that it's a thoughtful, considered approach, whether it's to the environment, whether it's to whom we partner with, the natural landscape per se in terms of regeneration of vast tracts of land. And I think it's that sensitivity coupled with this bold ambition in sectors like arts and culture that make for such an exciting proposition, and one that I'm pleased to say the world is increasingly sitting up and noticing.
Indeed, and that's much to do with your efforts. Melanie, I'm curious about something because it's one thing I found working with the RCU and in Alula. One goes thinking that you're going to be there to be a promoter of tourism. And you very quickly get a sense of, no, we're here to protect. And so as much as there's a massive opportunity in Alula, there's a profound responsibility because the local community, local wildlife, and Mother Nature are some of the key stakeholders. And this goes very much to Anju setting up this dialogue about making sure that as we're developing, we're preserving as well. How have you found your experience in Australia, especially knowing the importance of Indigenous culture and community, the importance of wildlife? How has that helped you to build a stronger proposition for Alula and make sure that visitors understand the blessing, not just the opportunity of visiting?
You know, Anita, our research consistently shows that today's thinking tourist and cultured tourist is really traveling on values. They are not people who just want to sit and observe. They want to immerse. And more importantly, they want to be seen to be leaving their contribution, if you like, to building a better world, if I can put it so grandiosely. And they are people who want to be traveling to destinations where community is at the heart, where the values that they want to see their children nurture as it relates to, environment are actually in practice in terms of the destination choices they make. So I actually think that destinations that are doing this are going to bubble up to the top of people's choice in terms of visitation. And I think our objectives there are in parallel. And we're very clear that, starting as we are only 4 years down the track, we have the real benefit of not just being part of this larger KSA grand ambition that is about tourism taking center stage as the economy diversifies away from oil. It's as much about building a destination that is about the quality of experiences. It's about only 2 million tourists by 2035. So it's never about overcrowding. And with, of course, overcrowding comes all the associated negatives that you would think of in terms of, use of resources, etc. So I think this very considered approach to how we're going about building out the destination is really going to stand us in good stead for this high value tourist that we're after, who is also traveling increasingly, as I say, making very informed choices. And I think that the two objectives are very aligned, actually.
And building on that, and just again, so for people to understand the context, can you please share with us what is the mandate of Vision 2030 in terms of transforming the kingdom? And why tourism? Of all sectors, why would tourism be the golden child in making that happen?
Well, Anita, and you've been a big visitor to this country. Truly, Saudi Arabia is sitting on the most amazing assets. Whether it's the pristine nature based assets of the Red Sea and their untouched vast tracts of water and coral, or indeed the scale of heritage that is truly of global significance in places like Alula. I mean, KSA is very clear. We want to take tourism from 3% of the GDP to 10%. And likewise, Alula's ambition is very clear. We want to aim, for Alula to be a serious player. 120 billion SAR, I think, is the figure that we want to have in terms of contribution to KSA's GDP. We're very clear that this is about jobs. And we think that with Alula kind of foreshadowed as the giga project that is going to unveil, if you like, the crown jewel in KSA's offering, that we are so far already down the track, open now as a year-round destination, played host to 183,000 visitors last year, targeting 250,000, and getting some wonderful accolades in media and through our travel industry partners and directly firsthand from visitors themselves about the quality of the experience. And I think as well, the very, as I said earlier, thoughtful, considered way that development is unfolding in terms of the offering.
You make an important point about the development at a local level, especially because, as we know, the job creation and the participation is very heavily focused on women and youth, which are
Yes.
the ultimate best hosts in a destination. And I always love when in Alula, when you talk to young people there, and they're from Alula. They could have chosen to go off to Riyadh, to go off to Jeddah, and go to the big city. They choose to stay in their hometown. They choose to learn and become part of the fabric and how it's developing, which you think not only is that glorious for the destination, but the families must be thrilled that they're not losing their young people to the big city. These young people are proud to stay in Alula and they can feel the benefits. How have you found your leadership in tourism has evolved because of your experience in Alula? Aside from the fact that you do things much faster and bigger scale than you ever used to.
I continue to be so impressed by what is the genuine warmth and hospitality of Saudi people. The fact that 4 years ago, 5 years ago, they didn't really have a chance to show off their homeland to this international audience that they now, in fact, have. This is something that they've embraced with open arms. And the youth in particular, what never ceases to amaze me is not just their passion, but their commitment and their pride and the very, ambitious agenda they've set for themselves, in the case of women, for their personal self, but also their professional self. And I'm pleased to see how the Royal Commission for Alula is really working with the community and the youth in particular to ensure that there are meaningful jobs for them. The work that's being done in places like Madrasat Adira, which is helping women be independent entrepreneurs, revive some of the arts and handicrafts of yesteryear, give kind of, flight to some of their creative expression. This is just marvelous stuff. The work that's being done in Vibes with the small and medium enterprises, allowing young entrepreneurs to have meaningful vocations and jobs, is just stunning. And I think as well, the intervention by the Royal Commission to train and upskill has been a significant kind of underpinning factor that has seen so much success. So we've had chefs who've been trained at Verandi. We've had our storytellers, the Rawis, go to places like the US of A and really learn best practice when it comes to sharing that deeper, richer, immersive story about some of our heritage sites. And I could go on forever, but I think it is the quality of training and it's that inherent passion that is coming through in terms of people who are from Alula. And I always say when people travel, they travel as much to immerse themselves in cultures and to meet the people. And that's really one of often the most enjoyed and talked about things from a holiday. And I think what you'll see in Alula and experience in Alula there will give you a lot of fodder round dining room tables after that.
Indeed. A question for you, though, because pre-COVID, before Mother Nature grounded us all, the word over-tourism was a very frequent word in our vocabulary, and it was an area of concern, as was sustainability. But everyone was too busy to deal with it, and we'll get to it later. And that's when Mother Nature said, "Okay, stop. You're going to deal with it now." Because so much of the challenge of over-tourism and overcrowding wasn't just bad management of resources and people flows, it was bad manners. Tourists feeling they were entitled to be able to go and explore these ruins, these cultural artifacts, environments, and not be conscious of it. How are we in Alula able to protect cultural heritage, preserve it, preserve the environment through tourists rather than despite? And that again goes right to the heart of what Anju's trying to get us to use Alula as a background from.
Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about the kind of tourist we're aiming for and the fact that we've capped numbers. I mean, 2 million tourists by 2035 is a very modest kind of target. And it's the high yield market that we're after. But it's essentially as well people who share our values, share the sense of responsibility of the field, leaving amazing legacy to generations to come, whether that's in the space of heritage, our culture, or indeed the natural environment that with which we're so richly endowed. So I think for us, this is about like-minded ideologies as far as the Royal Commission of Alula is concerned, and the people that we seek to visit and to experience this amazing destination. And for us, we're going about our sustainability credentials and building those in a very streamlined way. You know, you referenced the UNWTO call out for Alula Old Town as best tourism village. The work that's being done to preserve our heritage. You know, we were the first UNESCO classified heritage site with HEGRA 15 years ago this year, believe it or not. And, you know, the work that's being done just in terms of vast tracts of land like the Shiran Nature Reserve, where there's planting of, you know, native species, there's regeneration of amazing tracts of land. And ultimately, we're hoping the reintroduction of some of the fauna that used to exist in Alula but no longer do, with very bold, ambitious plans for example, the Arabian leopard, which is a very threatened species. So for us, this is about learning from destinations that have got it wrong, and then also learning from the destinations that have got it right. And I think there is some kind of trick there in managing numbers, but it's also about the type of tourists that we're after. And it's about us consciously delivering experiences that fit that agenda and doing it in a meaningful way, where people, as I say, share ideologies and values when it comes to those important things.
You raised something very interesting about the learning from not just best practice, but definitely not ideal practice. And I
Anju
love
smiles.
I like the fact that especially when it comes to the rewilding, especially nature reserve, and bringing back in the Arabian leopard, when those little cubs are born, those are not tourism attractions. We're guardians for Mother Nature. And it's lovely that Alula is very clear that we're not doing tourism for tourism's sake. That if it's not helping conservation, if it's not helping community and culture, then we're selling our soul, and that doesn't work. When
Yeah.
you look at yourself in terms of you as a professional and as a practitioner, what do you see in Alula as really good case studies for others in the world to learn from?
It's a very interesting question. I mean, I think whether it's in the space of culture or heritage, we take our responsibility in terms of what we have been, bequeathed, and how that is preserved, protected, and enhanced for future generations very seriously. So, we have 5 heritage sites: Hegra, Jabal Ikma, which is the open library, which is the most amazing inscriptions, the earliest forms of Aramaic, Dadanitic, Greek, Latin. We have Old Town that I referenced earlier. And really, Alula is actually part of the 3 great connected oases of the northwest of Arabia that includes Kaiba and Tema, which the world is going to hear a lot more about. But those heritage destinations, for us, it's about archaeology, that's best practice archaeology that will tell a richer, deeper story. And in the case of Dedan, and if I can plug the Nat Geo series on Dedan, the ancient civilization, honestly watch it, because we believe we've only uncovered 95% of that story. And that is the kingdom and the civilization that I think Alula will be known for in the decades to come. So for us, it's about preservation of our collections. It's about telling that deeper, richer story. It's about encouraging best practice and learning in those specialized fields that we don't just want to be for Alula, but that we want to share with the world. And then for us, it's about making sure that in terms of things like nature, while the little cubs are not an attraction in that you can't see, touch, feel now, the ambition is that when they are reintroduced in Shiran Nature Reserve, whether that's in a decade or 2 decades, that will be a draw card. We know from destinations like Australia and Africa what a draw card wildlife in their natural habitat can be. So that is the ultimate ambition. And for us, you overlay that with what is the celebration of the best of contemporary, whether it's in the arts and cultural space, creative expression. You think Desert X, which is, of course, our big outdoor art installations that we've now run with Coachella in 2020, in 2022, and again next year, which will be a precursor to Wadi Al Fan with big names in art like James Turrell, Agnes Dean, Ahmed Mata. These are going to be, Wadi Al Fan, we think, will be a destination unto itself. So it's not just about preserving what we have and building on it, but it's taking sectors like the arts, creative industry sector, and culture more broadly to that next level, celebrating the best of the best at a global stage. So I think that's the real ingredient for Alula's potential success that we're hoping to build on as the years go by.
One of the greatest, actually times 5, as you mentioned it, recognitions of Alula's stature in terms of cultural and heritage preservation and promotion is the UNESCO World Heritage status, which is remarkable. Can you please help us understand, what does that mean? When you become a UNESCO World Heritage Site, what does that mean? And importantly, how do you therefore need to continue to work with UNESCO in making sure that that site is protected and preserved?
Anita, if I put myself in the shoes of many travelers, and I take markets like Japan, for example, there are people there who absolutely have this bucket list of wanting to tick off the world's top UNESCO classified heritage sites. And they literally meticulously do that. So it's such a stamp of recognition, not just of the gravitas in the case of heritage, of what that particular monument or ruin might stand for, but it's about the fact that it must be preserved, it must abide by certain norms in terms of its preservation and the way it is delivered, if you like, as an experience to the tourism landscape. So I think for us, it's both an accolade, it's one we take, very seriously, and it's one that we want to, live up to in all the kind of splendor that is about the preservation of, what has been left to us by civilizations that are thousands of years old, and really advanced civilizations who haven't just left us the physicality of whether it's tombs or rock faces that are inscribed. It's their advanced approach to resource management. I think of the Nabateans and what they did all those thousands of years ago with harvesting water, using science that was way above and beyond those times. And that's what we have to try and promote. So it's not just what is the heritage, but it's also the intangibles as it relates to culture and the legacy that we want to kind of play up.
Indeed, which goes back to the storytelling you were speaking about.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one because by implication, Alula is investing an enormous amount of time and energy and expertise to maintain that World Heritage status, because we've seen in the last 100 days all the news stories about places around the world that might be taken off of the list because they're not protecting them. So it is interesting that having that, as you say, gravitas is one thing, but being humbled by the responsibility of protecting that is another thing. Now, Anju, I've been a questioning, greedy person and asking Melanie all the questions.
No, but I think it has covered the entire spectrum of the conversation as well. So thank you very much, Anita. But I would try to take this 5 minutes which is left and like to deviate a little bit into the business event sector because that's what we are here for. So I want to know from Melanie and to advance it to Anita as well of how I mean Alula is, having Mariah, which is one of your, state of the art building, which every time Anita is there, I see the video of that. I haven't witnessed it, but I feel like I've seen it. So I want to know, I mean, you're the youngest member of ICA as well, and welcome to the ICA family. I'm finally very proud to have Alula as one of the members. But I want to know how can we develop Alula as a business events destination. And I see there is a potential. I mean, as you said, Saudi Arabia has a lot of treasure. And I think the biggest treasure, at least in Riyadh right now, it states in Riyadh, where there's a lot of local associations. And there's huge potential for the association business as well as the business events. So what's coming in short term in the next 5 years? I'm not talking 10 or 20, but I know that there is a lot of plans for infrastructure, and whenever you have plans for infrastructure, you need to have business plan as well. So just want to understand a bit of how do you position yourself in that sector.
Thanks, Anju. So for us, business tourism is critical. We're very conscious that Mariah has, a substantial event capacity of 550-seat auditorium. We can take meetings up to 800 with quite flexible spaces across Mariah. And I'm not surprised that Anita has Mariah feature as heavily as she does in Instagram. It's this magnificent mirror-clad building that rises like a mirage in the desert. Geoforma, who built it, said they couldn't compete with the settings, so they had to have something that reflected that beautiful sandy set of outcrops that surround it in the famous Ashar Valley. But for us, when I think of the criteria when people think about where they want to take a meeting or a conference, it's usually air connectivity, and we're very well connected from Riyadh, Jeddah, and Dammam. We now have Dubai flights twice a week. We're very soon going to have flights to Amman and another major Middle Eastern carrier, which will give us that throughput from Europe and the East Coast of America. So air connectivity is a tick. We have 2 lovely 5-star hotels and quite a good set of 4-star hotels, and we're looking to build our hotel capacity quite substantially over the next few years with a degree of acceleration on that. So for us, this is a venue that is a venue with a difference. It's as much a place that has played host to some famous names in the concert and entertainment world, as it has, in the MICE space for really significant world events, not the least of which the one that saw the Arab nations bring Qatar back into their fold. It recently played host, and Anita moderated some of those sessions with the world's first archaeology summit, a summit with a difference that Anita can talk to more. Yes, it's got already in its very short life quite a few significant pieces of mice that it can lay claim to.
And I think if I could
Awesome.
just build on that, I think what's your question's so important, Anju, because, and this is where I think the best way to value tourism is by putting your eyes shut. Any destination in the world cannot be sustainable if it doesn't have year-round visitation, if it doesn't have repeat visitation, if it doesn't extend the length of stay, if it doesn't have dispersion. So it's never only about the number of arrivals.
Yeah.
What the RCU has done in creating Mariah is it is a spectacular venue. And as an architect's daughter, and what Melanie said is very true, that Mother Nature is the chief architect. Mariah simply reflects the majesty of her design. But in Mariah, and we saw this 2 weeks ago with the World Archaeology Summit, they have the main concert hall, which is beautiful. I mean, just remarkable. But there's also the other facilities within Mariah. There's the breakaway rooms, there's the media centers, there's the main conference halls that you can have over and above the concert hall. So it's structured incredibly well with all of the IT support, all of the live wiring that's required to fulfill the desire of any event to be able to host at a level of excellence. Importantly, and we've seen this coming out of COVID, whether it's a business person because they're a doctor, lawyer, engineer, if it's an academic, if it's a government official, they're human and they want to go places that inspire them. And the hardest part about hosting an event in Mariah is keeping people in Mariah because people are so excited being in Alula, they want to sneak off from the sessions. And that's lovely because it's businesses are now comfortable, governments are now comfortable saying, Anju, if you're going to Alula for a conference, stay a couple of days and enjoy being there. As long as we have Wi-Fi, we can connect anywhere in the world to whatever work we have. So having a destination that excites people to be there, not just be together, is a winning combination. And that's where what Melanie is doing in championing business tourism in Alula is brilliant because we must have people coming back, coming all year and really building the destination, or we're actually institutionalizing seasonality, which is a dangerous ultimate situation.
That's true because, and that's my objective, being in heading in the Middle East, and each and every destination is close to my heart. And Alula is one of the destinations which is still virgin destination for the business events and for ICA itself. And I want to get there. Definitely want to bring, ICA members over there and to showcase the destination.
You'll be very welcome, Anju.
Thank you, Melanie. Time is of the essence over here. I can continue, I think, another 30 minutes with Anita and you. But we just had a very crisp session. It is excellent. And I'm hoping that we will have you more often, Melanie, with us. You're welcome to join us on our Bangkok Congress. And I'm sure Anita is already joining us there. But thank you very much for both of you for your valuable time and insights regarding Alula. The destination is a next era destination that we are all anticipating eagerly to visit. And I look forward to many more of these future conversations to share and enlighten us, Melanie and Anita. And I would like to thank everybody who has joined us over here as an audience and dedicated their time. I am eagerly also waiting for their input because this was the first edition. I'm open to suggestions, recommendations, and how we can take this more intricately and work towards building our region and bringing, more and more business events to this region. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Anju,
Anju.
Melanie.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
Peter.
travel
Cheers.
safe. Take care.
Bye.